Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Lubick, and I'm the uh, program director for First Lego League Challenge in the state of Illinois. And I'm going to be with you this evening and going through slides that I've created here that are about the administrative tasks that coaches for First Lego League Challenge need to be aware of and understand and complete during the season. Now, I do want to put this, I do want to drop the link for this into the chat here. So give me just a second. I'm going to share this with you folks. Okay, everybody should be able to see the presentation that I'm sharing. If you go to the chat, you can download that. If you're not able to, you can just follow along. I am recording this meeting, and I will post a link to the recording as well as a link to the slide deck. I will send that out in the email, and that will also be in the email archive that is at the bottom now of every email that I send out to the coach email list. All right, so we're going to jump right in. I do want to mention that if you do have any questions from tonight's presentation session, please feel free to send a message to us at fllchallenge@firstillinoisrobotics.org. You could also send an email directly to me, slubick@firstillinoisrobotics.org. Okay, so these are the things we're going to be going over this evening. The role of the coach as far as administrative tasks. Now, this page, this is just an overview of what we're going to be talking about. So how do you register your team nationally and obtain materials? How do you register your team in Illinois? The importance of reading through participation rules, rubrics, robot game rules, challenge document, and more, and where those can be found. The need to run your team meetings and organize your team meetings and ensure consent forms are signed by the students. The very important attend your qualifier, and a reminder for everyone that we keep it fun. And I will jump right in. All right, so most of you are aware of this meeting, are on this call because you understand that you need to register your team nationally to get started for First Lego League Challenge. Where do you register your team? The national registration, I always point out to people, is at firstinspires.org. Now, we consider this FIRST headquarters. This is the worldwide FIRST organization that runs all FIRST programs. We are a separate entity partnered with them here in Illinois, and that is basically how all FIRST regions are run. They're run in partnership with headquarters. Okay, so if you have challenges, hurdles, stumbling blocks as you are registering your team at the firstinspires.org website, there is a team of support individuals that can provide you help registering through their systems, okay? And you can contact them through these numbers here. They are closed on holidays, and they have extended hours Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays through October 28th. Keep in mind that their time is Eastern, so they're an hour ahead of us. So they close at 6 our time. All right. And First also has this very handy video to help coaches with their registration process, understanding how to do it. All right. So I want to just point out some tips as you guys are going in to register your teams nationally. So you must register yourself first and then add a team. This is a little bit confusing and maybe doesn't exactly, maybe it's not intuitive, okay? But that's a very important first step. So you register yourself as an individual was first, and then you have your dashboard and you can add a team. Okay. Additionally, I just want to point out that there are many steps involved with registering nationally, so don't delay. We are going to have registration open through October 15th, but a key reminder here is that you really can't complete your national registration in one day. So if you are thinking about starting a team, you need to make that decision relatively soon here. I would say, by the first week of October for sure, you should have decided if you're going to have a team this year or not. You must complete youth protection screening as a coach before you'll be allowed to add any students to your team within your dashboard. So what this means is you really have to go through all their steps and processes and become cleared before they're going to allow you to essentially have additional features that you're going to need to do. So it's very important that you initiate the screening process. You don't have to pay for it. It's $8.50. You can opt out of paying for it. But you do need to complete that process. And additionally, I want to point out that FIRST requires every team to have 2 registered and screened adult coaches on every team. So they will hold up grant money that you have assigned to your team. You will not be able to order materials. And now this additional, you can't add any students to your team roster within your dashboard until you have that done. So please keep that in mind. And the process of screening takes time. I don't know exactly how long it's taking coaches right now, but my understanding, we've always been told to give it at least a week. All right. All right, planning your materials. You will need an internet connected device. A laptop is strongly recommended. You will need a robot kit. The robot kit is usable year over year. You have to choose between an EV3 or a Spike Prime. Spike Prime is now the platform, if you will, of the program. And so content and support is being provided if you have Spike Prime robots. So you may want to think about that if you are still trying to make a decision about which way to go. Okay, you will need a field kit. Sometimes they call it a challenge set, but basically you need to purchase the registration for your team, and then along with that is the field kit for the season. This is what we call the Cargo Connect field kit. It has all the mission models that go on the table. And then the students build the robot to interact with those models and score points. You will need a tournament table. They give information on how to build your own, but there is also one commercially available through a website called AndyMark. And I will be sure to send everyone a link to the AndyMark website so that you could find that if you are interested. And then you'll need students. One First Leg League Challenge team consists of between 2 and 10 student team members. The students need to be between the 4th and the 8th grade. And this is a very important aspect of First Leg League Challenge. The idea is that the students are learning teamwork, and these are the criteria. All right, so you must also register your team in Illinois if you want to compete in a qualifier. We call it a qualifier that then leads to the state championship. So, for example, this season we have something like 16 qualifiers. They will all feed into 1 or 2 state championships. The registration fees for Illinois are $150 per team. The registration for Illinois is found on our website, which is firstillinoisrobotics.org. I always recommend people go to firstillinoisrobotics.org and then click Coach Login. This will take you to the registration system. Now, you must sign up on our website first and have an account somewhat similar to the national website. But I need you to understand that the two systems don't actually talk to each other. They are completely independent systems. So you do have to enter your information again. And I want to point out to you that it's very important that you have your up-to-date information in the Illinois system in order to ensure that all the information given to your tournament coordinator is correct and accurate. And we'll talk a little bit more about how this comes into play. One thing I tell coaches is make sure your team name is correct in the Illinois registration system, because otherwise your team name will be wrong, all the way throughout our system. That's where we pull our team names from. All right, Illinois registration tips. Please be sure when you are registering your team on our site to select the correct program. The programs recently had a name change and they are more confusing than ever now. So there's First Lego League, and then under First Lego League, there's First Lego League Discover, which is for preschool students, First Lego League Explore, which is for 1st through 4th grade students, and First Lego League Challenge, which is for 4th through 8th grade students. First Lego League Challenge is our program, the one that we're talking about tonight. There is also First Tech Challenge, which is for 7th through 12th graders. They both have the word challenge in them. When you're looking through a very quick drop-down menu, you could see the word challenge and accidentally register the wrong type of team. This is a gotcha for a number of people. And if you come up with that problem, just send me a message and I'll be happy to walk you through changing that. Use your 5-digit team number. So we call this the permanent team number. If you've started your national registration, but you have not completed it, as in you don't yet have a second coach, you haven't completed your screening, you haven't purchased your registration for your team, you will have a much longer number, and it is not, we are not able to use that to register you in Illinois. You do have to have your permanent 5-digit number. Now, some teams have a shorter number because they were allowed several years ago to keep using a historic number for their team. And so some teams you'll see do have a shorter number, but if you are a new team, your team number will absolutely have 5 digits. All right, and just an additional tip is that you should begin collecting your national and Illinois consent forms for all students and adults on the team as soon as possible. They're required for participation at your event. It can be a process that drags out. And we will talk more about that in a moment. All right, a couple more tips for the Illinois registration system. Update your team name in the Illinois registration system. Add all coaches or individuals that you want to receive tournament information to your Illinois team dashboard. There is a tab for coaches in your dashboard, and that tab has a blue hyperlink to add in the bar field. We can actually pull it up in a little bit. We can take a look around at a bunch of these different sites and things if you guys have questions, but just know that in your dashboard, the coach info tab, there is a field and then an add button. It can be hard for people to see it. Your coach then needs to basically they have an invite in their email, and then they need to click on it and complete their personal account, and then they will be added to your team. You do have to choose your qualifier picks by October 15th. So there's a qualifier tab within your Illinois dashboard as well. You need to select 3 at a minimum from the 16 choices. You need to select 3 of those. And you also need to complete your payment. So you can't complete your payment until you choose which qualifiers you would like to attend. And you need to make your payment by October 15th. So you're seeing what we're talking about here is that you must choose your qualifiers before you can make your payment. And grant recipients will have their grants applied within 2 weeks of us being notified of your grant being in process. So if you're a grant recipient for your registration fees for Illinois, please do not pay. We will update that on our back end, and it's easier if we don't then need to reimburse you. So all right, October 15th. I know I've mentioned that a few times now. It is the final date to finish and pay your Illinois registration fees. By then, you should have decided if you're planning to compete this season. And it's the last day. You can change your event choices up until that day. And if you are having a registration problem with the First Illinois Robotics website, please reach out to me as early as possible so that we can try and figure it out together before we reach that deadline. All right. This page is very important. I have my alert sign here. This page, I've sent it out before, but I like to make a really big deal about it. But this is the resource library, I call it. And it has a link to many, many, many very important things that are essential. Again, this is produced by headquarters. You can tell because it says First Inspires here. First Inspires is always headquarters that provides the content. So be sure to click on that and bookmark it. Okay, so this is, I basically have copied out what is on that web page. And so this is what that web page looks like. And actually all of these items, if you have my slide deck open, these are all hyperlinked. So the challenge overview is here, the challenge updates. They're going to have a distance education guide coming. And this is where you find the build instructions. You're thinking build instructions, what are we building? Build instructions are talking about how to build your mission models. When you get that Cargo Connect box that has your mat in it and all these bags of Legos, you're going to realize real quickly that there are no building instructions in there. There's no printed booklet or anything. So you do have to come to this page and come to this build instructions link and pull those up in order for your students to build the models. You do not have to have your students build the models, but I have found that it is a great instructional process for them and they love it. So I always had our students build the mission models, usually our first meeting. You have the season launch video, you have robot game mission video, and then we have some coding things here, a wireframing grid, which is for learning how to follow some lines. It's basically a black and white grid version of the mat. Now, table building instructions is how to build the tournament table that you will need. And again, Andy Mark is a site where you can purchase a table that comes apart in 3 pieces and is very light and wonderful, and I would recommend that to everyone. Welcome letter. A lot of people overlook this, but we're going to talk about it a little bit. I do want to point out the multimedia resources and participation and event certificates are coming soon. So they will link here certificates that you could print that you could provide to all of your students at the end of the season, for example. Now, you are not limited to doing that. You could create your own certificates, you could create your own awards and however you would like to celebrate your students. But often it's nice if coaches like to print out a certificate for each of the students they can keep, and that's a nice idea. All right, I am going to continue on here because this was really meant to be an overview. Rules, judging, and rubrics is the lower part of the page. We're again looking at the resource library and all the contents that are posted in the resource library that First Headquarters puts up. Now, participation rules, robot game rulebook, and now new this year, an interactive edition, which is amazing. I highly recommend that. The rubrics, they have a black and white version if you would like to print that out for all of your students and not have it be in color. There's a judging session flowchart. This pertains to the judging session that your students will have at the qualifier, and all qualifiers will use the same flowchart. And so it kind of tells you how the 30-minute judging session is going to proceed. There's an awards list, and also First has come up with a scoring calculator. You guys can try that out. Okay, participation rules. I have particularly linked the participation rules here, and I want to just point out core values is how we do first, and it shouldn't be something separate. Obviously, it's very important to engage the students, but how the students behave, how they treat each other, how they talk to each other in the judging session is going to be looked at. So knowing and the students understanding that core values is being scored is essential and very important as an aspect of the program overall. I'm going to go ahead and click on this and we will see what happens. Here we go. Okay, we've popped out of the slideshow, but hopefully you guys can all see this. I don't know if this is going to be big enough that you guys can read it, but this is in the participation rules. And again, it's only a couple pages, but I wanted to really emphasize this to everyone. I think that people can miss this as an aspect of the resource library. Okay. Teams, coaches, and other supporters must demonstrate the core values in their actions and activities throughout the seasons. Teams need access to the following materials. Okay. So we talked about that you have to choose between a Spike Prime or a Lego Mindstorm. This is EV3. Maybe now it would be another one that they could choose from is the Robot Inventor even set. It needs to be Lego. And there are restrictions on which sensors they can use. We'll talk about where you find that in a moment. A computer or tablet with software to program the robot. A laptop is recommended, and software is available here. Okay. Throughout the season, teams need access to the following materials, which will be delivered after you register your team nationally and pay your national registration fees. The challenge set, this again is what we call the field kit. It's an old term. This is their new term. Challenge set, we also sometimes refer to as the mission models. These are all synonymous. The challenge set is the Cargo Connect field. And also you will receive engineering notebook and team meeting guide. These are materials that you are not in any obligation to use. However, I highly recommend that you do use them. They are really excellent, and they offer the students a walkthrough a single mission to get them kind of get their feet under them with coding and all of that. So here we go as far as the build instructions. So they call it mission model build instructions. This is referring to how do you build your challenge set. This is not correct. The release date was August 17th this year. But also we have the missions, the robot game rulebook, the field setup, and also the challenge. So this, to me, it's confusing, especially if you're a new coach. So many things are being called challenge. So many things are being called, the same words are being used over and over, and it gets very confusing. So the challenge is on one hand, it's everything. So the challenge is Cargo Connect. It is everything. It is the season. But it is also, the challenge is also the innovation project. So when I talk about challenge, I am often talking about the innovation project. We will piece through this a little bit more, but it's very important to understand that not only are the students building models, Lego models that are part of the table, they are building a Lego robot. They are programming the Lego robot. They are also completing a project, an innovation project, where they are solving a real world problem associated with the challenge for the season. So Cargo Connect, big theme. Those are all, I kind of think about it like this. You have core values, you have the robot game, and then you have the innovation project. Those are the three aspects of the whole program, and each one is huge, is a huge task. It can be broken down into many smaller tasks, and the students are going to have to learn to manage their time and divide their attention in order to basically, have something to show by the time their qualifier occurs. I don't know if that, hopefully that makes sense. So they will be presenting essentially their project during the judging session. and then they will be demonstrating all of their work, all of their hard work during the robot game rounds. But throughout the process, they are demonstrating their core values. Okay, and then just to go over again, a competitive team. So what they're talking about is a team that is planning to attend a qualifier has to have at least 2 students and at the most 10 students. Proper adult supervision is required according to the first youth protection policy. I recommend that you take a look at that. A team must be registered, fully paid in their national registration to sign up for an official event. A qualifier in Illinois is an official event. And as an official event, we are overseen and managed and partnered with First Headquarters. So someone might decide, you know what, our team isn't ready. We have 3 other teams at our school. We have 4 teams in all, and we're gonna do our own little competition at our school, and this is how we're gonna grow. This is the step we're gonna take. That's great. That is wonderful. And if you only do that, the rules don't have to be the same here for you. But to participate in a qualifier, you must fulfill the participation rules as first sets them out for all teams that are participating in that. Hopefully that makes sense and everyone understands that. A team also must, so here it says additional event fees may apply. And again, that's where we talked about, we have our own Illinois registration fees. We charge $150 for teams to attend a qualifier in Illinois. Team members must be between the minimum and maximum age allowed in their region. We talked about 4th through 8th grade. We know sometimes we talk about age 9 through 14. If you have a student who falls outside those windows, just send me an email. I can allow a waiver in certain circumstances. So just send a message to me. I'm happy to look through that with you. Okay, this is also a very important aspect. All work presented is the work of the children on the team. So the students are doing the work. The coach is guiding the work that the students do. Keep this in mind. This is the heart of the program. The students are there to learn, and their learning should be front and center. Please don't take that from them, okay? All team members attending an event are required to participate in the judging session and be present as a team at the robot game matches. Okay, so let's talk about this. Okay, let's say a student on your team is sick and they can't go to the qualifier. What happens? Well, as you can see here, it says all team members attending an event. So if they're there, they need to go to the judging session. And hopefully if they're participating in a remote event, hopefully all the team members are able to participate in the judging session remotely. If they are not, reach out to your tournament coordinator. They may have some information or some ability to try to help you make sure that all the team members can be there. If you are having an in-person event and someone on the team is sick, please do not encourage them to go. We want everyone who's sick to stay home and get better. And the robot game matches. So this seems a little bit awkward, maybe having, 10 students bunched up at the robot game match. Now, being there at the robot game match doesn't mean we are not socially distanced or whatever. If there is the ability to socially distance, if there's enough space, what they're talking about is they don't want a team member, sitting alone at the team table when everyone else is at the robot game safely distanced and watching the robot game and actively engaging in the excitement of the robot game match. D. Karabowitz, the head referee for Illinois, is going to be running a robot game session later in a week or two, and she will go over all the ins and outs of the robot game. I am not intending to do that here, but I did want to give you guys sort of high level, conversation about what you guys really do have to make sure that you do. Okay, and I just want to mention that this is talking about for awards and advancement. You can't just go to, say, 3 different qualifiers and then, pick the one that your team does the best at and then go on to state that way. So every team only gets to go to 1 qualifier. And some regions might have what they call a super regional, which comes after a qualifier, and then from the super regional they go to the state championship. They call that a 3-tier system. Ours is not that way in the current state, so teams at the most will be participating in 2 official events, their qualifier and then a state championship. And then just basically this part here is just basically saying follow the rules that are outlined. You'll do better if you follow the rules. So it's a good idea to know what the rules are. We'll talk about where you find those in a moment. And then consequences. So first does allow for individuals or teams who fail to abide by participation rules to be ineligible for awards at a tournament. So please just understand, and also core values violations could result in a team's dismissal from an event. So first does keep this in their sort of back pocket, and volunteers are aware. It's very important as a coach, you should understand that the referee is not paid. They are a volunteer. The judges are not paid. They are all volunteers. Your tournament coordinator is a volunteer. 99.99% of the individuals you interact with this season are all volunteers. So please keep that in mind when you are engaging and working with individuals throughout the season. Okay, I don't know why this looks different now. Before it was taking up my whole screen. Now it's okay. All right, well, I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. Okay, challenge documents and links. So again, the challenge document is the innovation project. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on this link. So this is, they call it the challenge overview. This is the document that you look to understand the innovation project. And then again, understand core values are scored. This team is scored in robot design, and the robot game score, the top score, will be used and factored into their overall score. And the innovation project is also scored. These 4 areas are what is looked at during the judging session and at the qualifier to determine awards. Okay. And this just basically talks about what your objectives are for robot design and robot game. And here is the innovation project. So this is the really important part of this document. The innovation project is the designing and creating a presentation of their results for the judges. This is called the innovation project. A lot of teams take this very, very far. A lot of teams find this to be one of the most fulfilling aspects of the FIRST program. Please don't overlook this. So the innovation project, if we were to say, what should the team spend their time on? What should they divide their time between? A seasoned coach would probably tell you, okay, core values and everything, and half the time on the project and half the time on the robot game. And that is how they would divide it up. And then being that this is geared towards 4th through 8th graders, they have a little kind of comic strip here talking about what they're supposed to do. What are they trying to improve? This can become very nuanced, and I highly recommend that you attend the judging session, coach training judging session with Kyle Blay, the head judge advisor for Illinois. Kyle will be hosting an event, a session next week. Okay. So we have the challenge overview, and here are challenge updates. Now, interestingly, challenge updates can pertain to either the robot game or the innovation project. And it just so happens that currently the challenge updates, from what I'm looking at here, so it says here M11, that's mission 11. R19 is a rule, so rule 19. It is very important that you check this frequently. Make sure that your team understands that something has been clarified and applies it when they are diving in and, understanding all the rules for the season. I've linked the Cargo Connect launch video here. This is just an exciting video about the season. I also want to point out this to you, multimedia resources. And again, these were all just copied and pasted over from the resource library. Okay, so this provides you with links to websites, videos, how to build things, coach community, mentoring resources. This is a huge, important document as you are a new team and getting started. This will help you understand and basically help you build out your planning for how you're going to manage your season. So these are not requirements, but these are suggestions. So for example, about First Lego League, here's a flyer. You could provide the flyer to your potential students. Okay, this talks about all the different programs here, but basically what I've found is that it is important to what I will call poke around, because usually there are a number of really great materials. This has robotics resources here. Look, they have a link to a multitude of core values activities, okay? So dive in and, you know, don't just maybe gloss over some of these resources here. This has Spike Prime resources, the EV3 resources and supports, talks about how to get replacement parts, where you can download software and see the system requirements. Okay, now I did want to mention, this is a list of innovation project resources, okay? A lot of times these are created by other teams. So Droid Robotics started this. This is a whole list of innovation project activities that you could look through. You can do any one of those with your team. This is, these are amazing resource and assets. And one reason why I'm taking some extra time going through this with you guys. So presentation skills. These will be very helpful. And then these are innovation project resources that pertain specifically to the Cargo Connect season. Talking about transportation, New York Transit Museum, supply chain, and it goes on from there. Air transportation, land transportation, water, innovations in transportation, some of these are videos. You could actually have resources for the whole season just in this document and not have to go, you know, creating your own materials. You could share these with the students, one per week, or however you would like to do that. Okay, so where it says a Spark, these are also in the team meeting guide and the engineering notebook. So in the engineering notebook that the students, so the engineering notebook is usually one provided per student, and the team meeting guide is one per team. So they have different materials in them. The team meeting guide is meant for you as a coach, and we will I can talk to you guys about how to find the team meeting guide and the engineering notebook. It's through a link in your dashboard. Okay, and I also wanted to mention the rubrics. So understanding the rubrics is going to help your team do well. These are what the judges during the judging session at your qualifier, so again, 30-minute judging session at your qualifier, where core values are evaluated, your innovation, the student's innovation project is evaluated, and the robot design is evaluated. I'm just showing these to you because Kyle will go in depth and talk to you guys about these, but I wanted to make sure you guys knew where to find them. And again, all of these are in the resource library. All right, robot game documents and links. So there's the robot game mission video. Hopefully you guys have all seen that. There are the build instructions. I want to show you guys this page because when you pull it up, it's like, wait a minute, where are the build instructions? you actually need to scroll down here to mission model building instructions in order to find the proper. So you can get nonverbal in English with English instructions, or you can choose French if you would like. Oh my gosh, they have 17 bags this year. This is amazing. All right, so basically, I want to key everyone into this part right here. If you find that you are missing a piece or some pieces, they ask you to call these numbers and mention that you are a first LEGO League team. And they will send you the parts that you are missing. And they will do it expeditiously because they know that you're a first LEGO League team and that you might be waiting on the parts. So please be sure to make a note of this and go to that resource if you guys can't find a part. Okay, I do also want to mention that you'll see on this page, which we haven't been to before, there are also other things, okay? The robot game mission video is linked here. You can download it or just watch it. Here's our robot game building instructions. You know, basically walks you through how to build an official table. The challenge overview was that document we looked at before, the 4 pages. I think it's literally called something else on the other page, but you'll hopefully start feeling familiar. Challenge updates are here as well. Guided mission. Again, this is regarding coding. You can choose whether you're doing EV3 code, Spike Prime code, or lab alternative robot lessons. And they have challenge judging. So they have here the rubrics in gray. They have the judging session flowchart, awards, and more. Okay. I wanted to mention this ThinkScape portal. Access your digital resources through the ThinkScape portal. This is where you can access the engineering notebook and the team meeting guide. And this is showing you how to get there. Again, if you've started your national registration, this should look familiar to you. This dashboard is definitely your national registration dashboard. So firstinspires.org is how you get to this. When I was talking about you create your own dashboard and then you add a team, you create a new team. But if you look over here, there's a button for accessing ThinkScape. That is where you will access your interactive engineering notebook. So you have to choose First LEGO League Challenge. So you need to know the program name to be able to do that. Okay. I did also want to show you guys the robot game rulebook. And again, Dee will be talking to you guys more about the robot game. I just want to make sure you guys see, get your eyes on it, understand where to find it. This is just sort of the print version, okay? New this year is the interactive edition. I think this is like actually pretty cool. So they have this field, interactive field. You can just like hover and click on these different things and figure out what they are. So videos pop up for each one. This is like, actually, I think this is really cool. So be sure to check it out and let your students play around with this. This is for them and super cool. Okay, we talked about the table building instructions. I'm just going to show you guys the wireframe and grid. This is, you know, it could be for the students to sort of take away the color and all the kind of craziness of the field and think about strategy on, you know, navigation and what order they want to challenge, attempt the different missions in. This is a nice tool and it's new this season. So you could have your students say, you could print out a bunch of copies of this and then have them think about and plan and consider pros and cons to going in a certain order, for example. Okay, and then this is coding and information for programming. And we're going to move on. Okay. So the basics are to form your team, watch the season videos for the robot game and the challenge, which is the innovation project, build your mission models, and take it from there. We talked about the rubrics, and again, I just want to mention that the judging session will be Tuesday, September 28th, 7 p.m., Illinois Judge Advisor Kyle Blay. We will be recording that session as well. And then to also keep in mind where your rubrics are found. There's a link here to the actual rubrics themselves, okay? And I will just quickly point out to you that new this year, there is a gracious professionalism score being given by referees during robot game rounds that will factor into their core values score. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about your planning your team meetings. Obviously, you know, you guys need to choose your location. Consider where materials can be securely stored or where you can leave something and it will be left undisturbed. Sometimes one of the biggest challenges is that teams have to, you know, basically take everything down off of the table, put it in a box, put it away in a locked cabinet, and then, you know, put the table away and pull everything back out every single meeting time. Some teams function that way. Other teams have a table set up in a designated space that's just for their team and they can leave it all there. They can just lock the door and nobody's going to touch it. So one of the worst things to have happen is you've built all these mission models for your table and you have it all set up and they get put away in a cabinet and somebody opens the cabinet and thinks it's a Lego party, right? So just highly, highly recommend that you make sure that your materials, all the work the students are doing, can be secured. Okay, choosing a date and time for your meetings. Your meeting length will depend on your team members' age and their other commitments and obligations. Work with your team parents, your school, whoever's sponsoring your team or, you know, basically enabling it to exist. Sometimes teams are meeting in a community space, so that will be a factor. So just consider and plan out, map out your dates and times and the length of your meetings so that all of your team members know what the plan is. Be sure to let your parents know, your meeting dates, and if you're able, include them in making those choices if you're able. Organize your supports you'll need as soon as you can. If you know your team's going to need transportation to and from team meetings, be sure to set that up. If you know that your students are going to be needing snacks and you don't necessarily want to be the one providing them, organize parents to provide those for your team. If you need someone to get your team a box of extra masks to have on hand, reach out to your team parents or your school or whoever you're working with and be sure that that happens. Just plan for what you know you will need and ask for the things that you need help with. And I also want to mention transportation might not be necessary for your team meetings, but it might be necessary for your qualifier. And once you know your qualifier, it's going to be really important to work on setting up your transportation. I've heard that buses are maybe in short supply. I don't know if it's a Chicago thing or a Illinois thing or whatnot, but just be sure to get that in and whatever you need to do to make sure the kids can be there. Okay, consent forms. All right. All student team members and coaches must have 2 signed consent forms each season to participate in FIRST. There's a national consent form and an Illinois consent form. The parents or legal guardians must sign consents for student participation, and I highly encourage you to start the process as early as possible and let parents know that it is a condition of participation so that they are not confused by this. We have in Illinois, we have had access to consent form in Spanish in paper. And if you do need a Spanish consent form, please let me know. National consents are also available in Spanish. Now, last season, First headquarters came out and said that all consents had to be done digitally. They had to be signed digitally. They would not accept paper consents last year. I haven't heard what they're planning to do this season, but as we get closer to qualifier dates, so for example, as we get into, say, the middle of November, if you do not have consents signed, you're going to start getting emails from me asking you to please get those done because they are a condition of participation in the qualifier. All right, national consents are found on the First Inspires website. This is the gotcha. Parents must create an account for themselves and then add a consent for their student. There is actually a, I believe they now have like a tutorial or at least a 2-page document. But the nice thing about this is that they can be signed and completed on a smartphone. So a parent with a phone can log on to the First Inspires website, create an account for themselves, sign up their student to your team, sign a consent form, all from their phone. And this has really been great. And we will be sending out instructions and start talking more about this once we are sort of past team registration time. So basically after October 15th. All right, Illinois consents. Illinois consents are completed on our webpage. You must use a computer. Phones will not work. So first, IllinoisRobotics.org, click consent form at the top of the page. The parents on your team will need to know your team number, so the 5-digit or less number, and the program name. And then also your team name will appear next to the team number. And this is one of the reasons it's very important to update your team name in Illinois registration, because it could confuse the parents. If they don't know the team number and team name, they might just see what they think is the team name and not look at the number, and they will end up putting their consent form into the wrong team. Often it's more common if there are, say, 4 teams at one school, and they'll put it in the wrong one that's at that school. But if you come into a problem like that, let us know. There are often things we can do on our end to help you fix things. So, and I just want to point out, parents do not need to register on our webpage to complete a consent form on our webpage. I'm just going to go ahead and click it here. So you click consent form. You can see they choose the program, First Leg League Challenge, and then the team is a drop-down menu. It takes a minute to populate. They choose the team name and number from the list, and then they complete it. They do need to click to sign. They do need to sign in the little box and print their name and click submit. If they don't do every single one of those steps, it won't save. The red asterisk are required fields. Okay. And this is, it's actually a very easy process. So hopefully that's going to be straightforward. But again, if you do run into hurdles when the time comes, so usually it's very start of November that we start talking very intensively about consent forms. Attend your qualifier. So again, about scheduling and planning transportation for your team. Please do that as soon as you know what event you're attending and you know what day your event is on, and you're ready to go. Be sure you understand the restrictions that are in place for your event. Again, this pertains specifically to COVID. There may be additional restrictions at your event that are not in place for, say, all events in Illinois. So please just be at the ready and reading what your tournament coordinator sends you about their event and how things are going to go. Okay, so make sure you communicate to your team parents what the attendance policy is for your event. So some events may not allow, for example, they may put a restriction on the number of individuals a team can bring into the building. Okay, they might restrict who can go. Well, I can tell you at the state level, we will restrict who can go into the judging session to just the coaches, the 2 coaches, the student team members up to 10, and 1 individual to photograph. And we're going to be releasing information about this to teams this weekend. So that is for the judging session. That doesn't mean that parents can't go to the event. It just means that the parents can't go into the judging session this season. And that could change next season. And I will also just mention here that statewide, we are going to be requiring all individuals, regardless of vaccine status, wear masks indoors at all events, all in-person events statewide. That information will be going out to teams by this weekend as well. So it's all in the same document. All right, making sure you have materials ready for your qualifier. You're going to want to have your laptop. You're going to want to have your robot, any extra parts you need for the robot in case something falls off or goes, tires, extra parts and pieces are always important to bring. Extra batteries or a charging cable if you have a rechargeable battery. Bring a multi-outlet plug, a place for coats, maybe a large bag or a tote to put them in. I always brought the big blue IKEA bags to put everybody's coats in. If they're going to be needing snacks, if the students are going to need some spending money to buy, say, a slice of pizza or a drink, let the students know. If lunch is going to be happening at your qualifier, often there's a need to pre-order. Be sure that you take care of any of that. That information will be communicated by the tournament coordinator. Any project display or props or display boards that the team has, please be sure to bring additional masks, sanitizer. I always bring some throat drops or tissues. I always brought hand sanitizer as the coach, just to be prepared. And that is it for that. So please keep in mind the qualifiers are supposed to be a celebration of the learning your team has done. Don't over focus your team on winning an award. Instead, focus them on learning everything they can that day from other teams, the referees, the judges. Remind them that this is a place to be in a learning mode. And then I also, one thing I used to say, be in it to win it, knowledge. So what we learn is what we win. Learning is the gift. The trophy is, I always told my team, the trophy is nice, but what you've learned and what you have come away with and how you have been changed this season is the actual reward. So as the coach, you have the ability to center and focus your team on what their priorities are and how to think about the challenges and the struggles that they're going to be going through. Be ready to celebrate your team at your school. At your school, even if you're a neighborhood team, maybe the students go to different schools, reach out to someone. If you are at the school, please be sure to do what you can to celebrate the students and how much hard work that they have done through the season. Ask an announcement be made congratulating them, regardless of if they win an award or not. This is part of the first philosophy of celebrating STEM, as though it was celebrated to the level of a sport, right? Often the kids who are on robotics teams aren't accustomed to being celebrated. And it's really an aspect that the program's striving to change. So please be a part of that change by celebrating and looking for ways to celebrate and acknowledge your kids. I also want to mention, particularly if parents are unable to attend the qualifier, even if they are able to go, it's a great idea to assign a designated videographer for the day and plan a time to share those recordings with the team and their parents. And be sure that the parents know how proud you are of their students. It's really, it doesn't take much, but hearing from the coach how much work they've put in, how much you've seen them change, some significant milestones is really huge. And it's something that, keeps the program center focused for the parents when they hear that feedback. If they can't see it, and be there themselves, they love to hear it. Okay, next steps. I just want to reiterate that as the coach, you can do a lot now to ensure that your team has a great season. Focus on learning as the outcome. Make a big deal about small wins along the way. Praise gracious professionalism when you see it. Make core values the center of everything your team does. Give students permission to push their comfort zones, try new things, break down barriers. Let them know how important it is to you that they are having fun. Okay. And voila, that is the end of my presentation. All right, I am going to all right, I still have a few of you guys, and I'm wondering what questions you have for me. If you have a question that came up during the course of this evening, go ahead and unmute yourself and let me know your question. You could also post the question in the chat.
Hi, Sarah. It's Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Quick question. Is the limit only 2 coaches?
No, that's a good question. You can have more. You can have as many coaches as you would like, but you must have 2.
Okay. And I guess my next question would be my grant information came in already. So how do I just go on there and I just register? And then I'm a little confused though still on which one I'm supposed to do for the material. Because we want to do like the competition thing. So I'm nervous I'm gonna do it wrong. This is my first time.
So when you say the materials, are you wondering which robot kit to order?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah. Which robot I'm supposed to be getting?
as a new team, I would recommend that you go with the Spike Prime because Spike Prime is the current supported platform.
Okay, so I just look for Spike Time.
It's Prime, Prime.
Oh, okay, Prime. So it's
Spike
Prime,
Prime.
Spike Prime. Okay. Let's see. And those can be in like the competitions you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, you answered my
Oh,
questions.
good. Let's see if we have any other people with questions. I see Joan's on. Hi, Joan.
Hi, Sarah. I'm glad I see several people from our study group. So yeah, a lot of great information you put out for us.
Oh,
Some
good.
of those resources are new, like that interactive table with the missions.
I know. I love it.
Very nice.
Yeah. I'm really excited about that. I want all the teams to know about it.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be talking about it in our meeting.
Awesome.
That's about all I got. It's been a long day. Thanks for sharing some time with us this evening.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
Oh, awesome. You're welcome, Nicole. Do we have any other questions? We'll just, see if anybody wants to stay on. If you guys need to drop off, that's perfectly okay. Have a wonderful evening.
This is Sudha here, Sarah. Thank you so much for the information. We are a rookie judge this year, so little overwhelming to hear all the information. But then, is there any checklist kind of a form or something like that, Sarah, that would help us to not feel extremely overwhelmed? Because I'm like, oh my gosh, we didn't see the challenge update, we didn't see this, we didn't do this. So there's so many things. I know Abhijit is our coordinator and he helps a lot, but I just wanted to check if there is anything else that can help us not feel that we have missed something.
So for judges, there will be training. Kyle will have training for the judges. And
Okay.
my understanding, I think the last 2 years he's made a checklist for them. So I'm pretty sure he'll do that again.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Yeah. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Hi, just a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm also a little confused. A rookie team this year, first time.
Nice.
So my team already got a team number, registration number. So does that mean I'm registered in the national as well as Illinois, or I need to check? Because Illinois, I have seen the dashboard. I'm always confused with the national registration, whether it is done or not. So does that mean if I have the team number, it means it's done, right?
So your national team number, okay, so let's
It's like 53130 like that. So is that it indicates that my national registration is done, right?
so if you have your sorry, I have like way too many things open here. So to go to Illinois registration, let's go back. Let's go back to the slide. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to click on this link here from the slide for registering in Illinois. Okay. So you'll see here that they talk about how to do it. Okay. Click the sign up link if this is your first time registering in Illinois. You'll fill in your name, email, phone information, hit submit. You'll receive a confirmation email with link to set up your password. Open your email and click the link in the email. Set up your password to complete the sign up process.
This is for Illinois. This
Yes.
is for Illinois or for national?
This is for Illinois, and how you can tell is it says First Illinois Robotics right
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Okay. Illinois robotics. Okay, fine. Thank you.
And
So Illinois, I am registered. Yeah. National, I am confused.
so national is how you get your team number. So let's go to the national registration. Okay, so you register yourself here. Let's click here. Okay, so you can see in the upper right, it says register or log in. So if you have never gone to this site before, you would click register, but probably you would just log in because if you have a team number, you got it from this site. Now, again, you can tell national because it's firstinspires.org and it's very fancy and beautiful, frankly.
Yeah, I think I have been to that site. Okay. I think my other coach did it, so I was little confused whether it is both are done or not. Thank
So
you.
be sure that you can log in to both sites because as the coach, you have to make sure.
Yeah, this dashboard I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a first tech challenge team, so don't look at that, but you would click create a new team or you would see your team here. You would see information showing here. The contact options, this manage contacts is how you will add student team members to your roster. That's something that let's go back to it. The first headquarters support team can help you with understanding how to use the national dashboard. Again, this is really their thing. But I will quickly mention youth protection screening is over here in your name.
Yeah, I did that. Youth protection screening, I'm done.
Great, great.
Yeah. Then okay, I was little. Thank you so much. It was like US in first inspire or something. That's why I was getting confused. Okay, that was very helpful.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night.
Thanks, Sarah. Talk soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Joan.
Bye.
Bye.